I have been in New Zealand for the last 10 days. This is not my first visit. I've been here before. This place is familiar to me in many different ways. I have a personal connection to this land even though it's 10,000 miles away from where I live. Despite that distance, I am still the same person. I still breathe and think and feel. If I were to explain to you why I have this relationship with New Zealand, it would be best to go back to the beginning. My New Zealand history begins with the classic and humble existence of Mary Kennedy. She is my prime connection to this land and as much of a surreal experience for me to be around as her local neighbors and friends. Mary, my great-grandma, is 96 years old. She lives on her own in a quaint flat where she is encouraged by family and friends, neighborhood cats, and daily devotion to the newspaper. She is more up to date on current events than most people. She has outlived both of her children, Judy and Graham, and has led a hard and enduring life. Grandma Mary has lived in New Zealand almost as long as it's been a nation, and she truly is one of a kind.
You never ask where anything come from. Well, I don't, because I've never had the money to buy all these expensive things. I couldn't afford these glasses.
Grandma Mary resides in Christchurch, which is the largest city in the South Island. Christchurch was founded and named by English settlers who originally only wanted Christians to inhabit this area. Today, Christchurch is a multicultural urban area but still retains its European heritage and is a good place to get a feel for New Zealand culture. It is also home of Hagley Park, one of the biggest and most beautiful of the many parks throughout New Zealand. The city of Christchurch is visited twice a year by my mother, Michelle, who comes to New Zealand to spend time with her grandmother.
No, I can't. I'm exhausted.
I love you, Grandma.
Yeah, I know. I love myself too.
Well, good.
My mother's selfless actions towards her grandma are an example for us all. After a 12-hour flight from Los Angeles, I arrived in the largest city in New Zealand, Auckland. Here you can connect to other destinations throughout New Zealand. From Auckland, I traveled to Christchurch in the South Island, where I visited Grandma before I hit the road. The Banks Peninsula is one of the most easily accessible and beautiful areas near Christchurch. There you will find Akaroa, which was founded by French settlers in 1850. This small harbor town is primarily a tourist spot, and very few people live here year-round. I spent my first morning on the road in Akaroa, and after checking out some local sites, I made a new friend in a panini sandwich. The sandwich had pesto, mozzarella, and chicken, along with some sun-dried tomatoes, and it was delicious. Continuing south, I arrived at one of the many landmarks, a quaint chapel on the shore of Lake Tekapo. From there, I continued on the road towards Mount Cook, also known as Arrow Kai, the tallest mountain in New Zealand. It's my first day on the road. I am driving, I am covering land, I am moving fast, I am seeing sights, I am seeing green, I am seeing trees, I am seeing rolling hills. I peer out my window and I see towns, I see lives, I see people, I see cars.
see an existence that's very similar to mine, but somehow different. I take the time to pause, to eat. I enjoy myself, and then I'm on my way.
On the southeastern seaboard, just north of Dunedin, you will find the Marakai boulders. These ancient landmarks have been rounded and smoothed by hundreds of years of erosion from waves. Their form was a mystery to the native Maoris of New Zealand, until recently when geologists determined they were made of iron ore and calcite.
Like a tree on the side of a mountain, hanging around, waiting for the fall. Alone, there's nobody for miles, fingertips barely hanging on. Down there go, and I fall as I wake to find myself scattered.
Bluff, one of the southernmost cities in the world, making it a connecting point to Antarctica. The only direction to travel from here is north. In New Zealand in the wintertime, it's important to wear layers. Start with a hat to keep your head warm. 75% of your body heat is lost through the head. It's like a chimney. Next, have a nice underlayer. A cotton t-shirt feels great against the skin and is easy to find. Follow that with a hooded sweatshirt. This is important. Keep it zipped up to retain body heat, and it has an extra hood in case you leave your hat. You might find a heavier jacket necessary, but what is most important is a windbreaker. Use this to keep the breeze and rain off your body. With these simple items, you will be ready to explore whatever New Zealand has to offer. The Milford Sound is one of the most photographed places in the world. Almost anyone touring the South Island comes here. While staying at a hostel, I met two travelers from Germany, and we booked passage on one of the many ferries that take you the 15 kilometers from the inland to the Tasman Sea. Although labeled a sound, it is actually a fjord. It has been voted one of the world's top travel destinations, and coincidentally is also New Zealand's most traveled place. The sights are many and beautiful, and there are many moments of silence from people taking it all in.
See these birds in front of us fishing in here. That's an Australasian gannet. There was a juvenile gannet just flew over the top of us, but there's one out there to the right.
The girls and I also explored the neighboring rainforest, and I was reminded how many different types of vegetation, geology, and people groups are found in New Zealand.
I'm amazing. Oh. I'm amazing. I'm fine.
Soon I traveled north towards Queenstown. Lakes and mountains surrounded me everywhere, and it became too much to stop and appreciate without investing years. Queenstown is known as the adventure capital of the world. It overlooks Lake Wakatipu and the Southern Alps. It is where bungee jumping and jet boating, among other extreme sports, were invented. Stuart is an Englishman who had been traveling around Australia and Asia for a year and was spending some time in New Zealand before returning home. And due to the touristy nature of Queenstown, we did one of the only activities in the area that didn't cost money. We hiked to the top of Ben Lomond Mountain. The climb was one of the hardest physical challenges I've had to do, but we pushed onward. The view was spectacular with clear skies for kilometers and was certainly worth the effort. I continued north as the visual delirium set in. Mountain after mountain, lake after lake, New Zealand's scenic onslaught left my senses overstimulated. Its biodiversity proved true once again, as I found myself in lush tropical forests. Now, on the western shore, I arrived at Fox Glacier. I have cousins who meet here. The bell tower was commissioned by my ancestors 100 years ago. This town, like any other in New Zealand, is laid simply and true. Every necessity and most pleasures are found down the street. And my place here has come full circle. I think about my existence. These shores and this scenery were experienced by my deceased Grandma Judy. She is the real reason why I'm here. Her adventurous spirit led her to America in 1962. She married my grandfather, had my mother, and the eventual product is me. But it's not only her love for New Zealand that inspired me. It was also her life full of appreciation and caring. Her pure life actions motivate me to be a better person. My trip to New Zealand is not for self-seeking tourism, but one of growth intended to connect with my past while learning to be all that I can in the present. Through these desires, my trip transitioned into doing international ministry in the North Island with a group of Americans. More new and unexplored relationships and places await me in the North Island.